This is the introduction, right? This is the introduction. Yeah. Hi, thank you. Now, I'm your lecturer for this course, one of the two. My name is Chin Huat. I am a political scientist by training, but my first and second degree were in economics and psychology. I taught journalism before, so I moved around the four. I was shaped by the four disciplines, mostly economics and political science. And beside research, I do advocacy work. I interact a lot with politicians. Now, would you want to introduce yourself? Where are you from? If you're from Malaysia, then what city? If you're international student, which country? At which stage of your MSDN course now you are in? And finally, why do you choose this elective? Because you have other choices. Thank you. Who want to start first? Now, I prefer at the beginning when we have interactions, you do turn on your video. You can turn it off when I was talking and so on later. Mary, would you want to try?
Hi, good afternoon, Prof. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mary Ivy. I'm a Filipino. I'm based in Malaysia. So my background is engineering and government bilateral relations between Philippines and Malaysia.
Work. Sorry, I said, where do you work? You say you work on
I
version. Are you
previously
part of?
worked in Philippine Trade and Investment Center. Is equivalent to counterpart of MITI.
I see. Okay. And why do you choose this course?
Oh, because my work last time is more on the investment and trade promotion. So I want to touch on the sustainability aspect of that. Yeah, like I can promote investment, but I want to know its impact in terms of sustainability or embed sustainability in it.
Oh. Kit Chun?
Yeah, good afternoon all. So
Yeah.
my name is Kichum. I'm from Penang. So I'm working as a safety and health officer in the manufacturing field. So the reason I choose this course, I'm not sure, I not very understand the details of this course, but from the title, I guess it's about the sustainability with government's related issue. So I hope to get more about the knowledge for this, especially for the governance part.
Okay. Well, let me clarify is we're specifically more about politics. And so for you to understand how the policy, I'll discuss that in the introduction anyway. Yeah. So it's different from corporate governance. It's about political governance.
Oh.
Tahan, are you Sabahan?
Yes, yes. Hi, Prof. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kahan. I'm Sabahan. I'm based in Sandakan at the east coast of Sabah. I have 16 years of working experience. My major background is actually biodiversity conservation. So I work with private sector on EIA and an NGO on wetlands conservation, and then 12 years with UNDP. But I left UNDP in July because I want to take a short break and do a master. And I'm also open for a short-term consultancy at the moment.
Are you at the beginning of your master?
It is my second block now. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Kahan. Why do you choose this course?
I chose governance because the working experience that I had is very closely working with government officials, and we look into policies, and of course there are also politics influence in all the work that we are doing. So I believe governance is a course that will help me to improve and also that will be applied in the future.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wai Chin?
Hi, I'm Hawaii actually.
Oh,
My full
sorry.
name is
Right.
Chin.
Right. Okay.
Yes. Hi. What should I say? I'm Hawaii, and
Where
I've
are you
been working
from?
for 20 over years. I'm from KL, Malaysia, and why I take this course of governance because I think it is a fundamental to sustainable development. Yeah.
Mm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Winshin?
Hi, good afternoon, Prof. My name is Wen Shim. I work in marketing and branding field for automotive in company. I've been working for about 20 years and I'm from Selangor, PJ. The reason why I choose this course is I just want to understand how politics make a role or a play in sustainability.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Aisha?
Yes, hello. Good afternoon, Prof.
Yeah.
Yes. My name is Aisha. I'm from Indonesia.
Hmm.
I think this is, yep.
Pulau mana?
Kalimantan, Balikpapan.
Ah.
Yeah, I think this is supposed to be my final stage. Yeah. I work as communication and relation officer in one of oil and gas company in here. So I think I chose this course because I work closely with the government officials from the village and until the district part. So I think it will have a good information for me, good knowledge. I think that's all.
I hope, yeah, we meet your need, expectation.
Thank you.
Avicenna,
Hi, Prof.
like, do you mind turn on your video?
Sorry, I don't have my camera set up for this on this device. So sorry. So, hi, I'm Abhisana. I'm actually supposed to join the physical face-to-face class, but today I'm sick, so I'm joining through online.
Okay.
So I'm currently not working, but before this, I worked at an NGO called Climate Governance Malaysia.
What? And you?
Climate Governance Malaysia.
Okay.
So that's also the reason why I decided to take this course because I thought governance was quite, it's a very important part of sustainability. So I wanted to learn more.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Avicenna. And Brandon?
Yes, Prof. So I would like to just start to,
Yeah.
just
Do
off
you want to turn on your video?
Yes, so I was getting to that. My camera doesn't seem to be working. But yeah, so my name is Brandon. I'm originally from Selangor. I'm currently based in Perth, Australia. My background was in logistics supply chain, and I currently work at a startup that specializes in agriculture supply chain software. So the reason I want to take this course is I see it as a way to learn the game. You know, you gotta learn the game to play the game. So politics is a big part of everything. So I guess that's what pushed me to take this course. And I'm also nearing the end of my master. I've just got this and two research projects.
I see.
Yep.
All the best. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
Saifuddin?
Hi, Prof. Hi, everyone. Saifuddin here. I'm actually based in JB and also KL sometimes. I do come out to KL. My background is capital markets. I used to run a capital markets advisory firm, but I'm taking a break. I currently sit on a board of an investment bank, King Group, in Malaysia. The reason why I chose governance course is because I'm interested to know how it links to sustainability. And from the course overview, I think it's also part of it covers goals 16 and 17 as well. So I'm keen to know that. I started the program in January 2024. I'm towards the end of the program.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Etta? Etta? Yes,
Good
please turn on.
afternoon. Good afternoon, Prof. I'm trying to switch on my camera. Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
My name is Hatta. I'm from Kajang. Sir, unfortunately, I am not. I am not doing this subject because I have done all my electives.
Okay.
I'm here to listen to you, sir.
Oh, okay. Are you the one who wrote in and request to sit in?
No, sir. No, I haven't
Someone
actually.
else.
I thought I asked your permission. I thought I asked your permission now.
Sure, sure. You're welcome. This is my last year.
Oh, I
Teaching.
see. So
Yeah.
then perhaps next week I should attend in person to actually meet you.
Okay.
I am semi-retired. I believe I'm your oldest student. I have been in so many industries: IT, building, oil and gas, education, many things, and I have done some reading on your dossier, sir. You are a very impressive lecturer, and I would very much like to listen to you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your kind word. And Fu, were you in our class just now, or are you a different person? Same person, right? Okay, all right. Then we cover everyone. I'll start now by just introducing on, just give me a moment. By just going through the course introductions and then lecture one. And first of all, apologies for uploading all the file video a bit late, but I aim to upload the next two videos by tonight, and then for lectures 6 and 7 by tomorrow, and lecture 8 maybe Monday. So everything should be clear after this, that for you to have more time. Now, going back to governance and sustainable development, this is about politics. It's not about corporate governance, just to be clear, because sometimes people thought that we are looking into corporate governance. Why do we want to study this? Is because you can't get the right policy until you get the politics right. This is a quote from two Nobel Prize winner in economic science in 2024, who say achieving prosperity depends on solving some basic political problems is precisely because economics has assumed that political problems are solved, that it has not been able to come up with a convincing explanation for world inequality. Explaining world inequality still needs economics to understand how different types of policy and social arrangement affect economic incentive and behavior, but they also need politics. You probably have seen this already, that bad officials are elected by good citizens who do not vote. Now, the course is designed as a user manual on politics for SDG practitioners and activists. So a lot of people feel powerless before politics. They don't understand. They find it very hard to understand. And this course hopes to help you to understand politics better, to plan your steps and your moves better. SDG 1 to 15 are our policy outcome. We are covering SDG 16 and 17, especially 16. One of the things that we look at would be like tragedies of the commons. These are issues when common resources are overly exploited. It is not just about technological issues, how do we become more efficient in land use and so on, but ultimately also about governance. And in every lectures, I'll throw you some questions. This is my favorite one, which would come at the end of this hour, is what's the fundamental difference between a government and a gang? Now, this is how the course work is designed. It will be clearer at the course outline, but I'll show you later in a while in text. We have track 1 and track 2. So just for in case people get confused, because other courses, they put hybrids. Our case is actually separate. Track 1 would take the first 2 hours and 15 minutes. Track 2, the second slot. And you have the same assessment And students are feel free to cross over. If you cannot, track 1 student cannot attend in person, you can join track 2. And if track 2 students want to, you happen to be in town, you want to join track 1, you're always welcome. Yeah. I would take care of 7 lectures. That's from 1 to 4 and then 6 to 8. And Dr. Kupusami Singalavalu, a retired public administration expert from University Malaya, would cover lecture 5 on local government, lecture 9 on non-state actor, and lecture 10 policy process. And our teaching assistant is Ewan. Many of you would have known her. Now, this is a lecture and assessment that I would like to draw your attention to. The 10 lectures can be divided into 5 parts. Politics, the state, and democracy, that's an opening. And what we actually discuss for is to understand after politics, the nature of politics, we zoom into one particular type of politics, that's democratic politics. So lecture 2's open up the plan, lay out the plan for the rest. And for lecture 3 to 6, we look at state actors, the elected or political state actors, the legislative branch, the executive branch, different layers of government, electoral system. Then for the 3rd section, we cover unelected institution. Despite being democracy, you still have unelected institution, and they can be grouped into 2 categories. The independent ones are like the judiciary, central bank, technocratic regulators. And lecture 8 is the supportive unelected institutions, the military, the police, civil servant, but we focus only on civil servant. Now, immediately after lecture 8, we have the first assessment. I'm going to talk about the assessment detail in the next slide. But this assessment would cover lecture 1 to lecture 6. So you don't have to worry that you haven't got the time to absorb lecture 7. You have enough 1 week time for you to wrap up. And one of the questions you would have to answer is from lecture 5, so that both lectures get covered. Now, the next lecture 9 is on non-state actors. This is about civil society groups, academia, businesses, and media. The last section is on policy. So after introducing the different actors, we bring all of them together and see how policies are produced and contested or implemented. Lecture 9 and Lecture 10 together, just like Lecture 5, would be taught by Dr. Kupusami, who is a practitioner in stuff like EIA. Now, after that, we would have assessment 2 and 3. So what we're going to do next is, let me just move. Okay, this is the assessment. The first assessment has 3 questions. You have to produce 3 short videos, 5 minutes or less, and then each back up with 300 words. Now this, although this is more marks to give to video, you should understand that this is actually a test on your writing ability, because you need to gather information, organize them, formulate your argument, and then convey them. So content is therefore very important, and each question will give you maximum 10 marks. So altogether 30 marks. Assessment 2, there's a bit of mistake here. It's 1,000 to 1,500 words, and this is 20%. So each questions you get 10%, sorry, so this is each, and so there's a bit of mistake here. This is actually 15% times 2, you get 30%. I'll correct that in the final version. And assessment 3 is 1,005 to 2,000 words. And you have to do a short video to support that. That's 10 minutes, but more of the marks is actually on essay. And this is an open book exam. So we're going to give you up to from 72 hours. Now, one reminder is that you need to not only pass the overall marks, but you also have to pass both assessment 1 and 2 as a group and assessment 3, all at 60%. This is a marking scheme. I'm not going in detail. You can look at in the coursework. Just want to remind you that I'm very serious about plagiarism. Why? The simple reason I believe that you have a future. If you look at news, there's one Harvard professor who lost her job for fabrications of plagiarism. In Taiwan, in Germany, you have high-profile politicians forced out of politics into retirement because they were caught plagiarized many years ago. So I'd like people to take it seriously. If you get caught, it's better to be caught by me and learn a lesson than rather be caught later. But I really advise you not to plagiarize. What we mean is that if you're going to cite something, first of all, you must put open inverted comma and stated the original source. Even if you paraphrase it, you should still attribute to the author, unless something is very, very basic. You say the sun rise from the east, west. The sun rise from the east. You don't have to say who say it, right? But you're going to talk about the definition of state involving legitimate use of violence. Then you have to say is Max Weber. On AI, we do not have any policy prohibiting using AI. But I would advise you to be upfront about that. Open a document, list down what questions you ask or which AI applications you use, what question you ask, what answer you got. Just put it down as a record and submit it together. And I have to remind you also that AI make mistakes, sometimes deliberately. It's known that some AI's applications are prone to fabricate contents, including citations. So you want to check because the responsibility is on you. But submitting all this on a record of your AI engagement would help me to understand better. And so you might want to do it in the best interest for yourself. And I encourage you to use 2 extra resources. One is SGG Academy. This is actually hosted in Sunway University. We have an office with my colleagues at the SDSN Asia office, but you can just go to their website and find it. In case you need help, you can look for my office, my colleagues in our office, Shannon, Don, and others. Also, our library has information from Gallup's analytics. Gallup is a global pollster. They run opinion polls throughout the world. So if you want to find something and say, what about, you want to support your claim on some public opinion or preferences, look out for this. I'll give you marks explicitly for those who make good use of these 2 resources, especially if you have your marks are at the border level, meaning between B and A or pass and fail, then I'll pay attention to this. We have eLearn, but also I would encourage you to join the WhatsApp group. If you haven't, then please do. I'm very responsive. I'm a heavy user to WhatsApp. I'm very responsive to WhatsApp. In case if I don't respond to you, you can always text me again. What do you need to do well in SSM5183? 3 things: curiosity, logical thinking, and pragmatism. Now, unless you have any questions, if you have questions, do ask, because I'm not looking at any raised hand here. So what I want to go in is actually looking at lecture 1. Lecture 1 is about state and politics. What is state? States in lay person term, it is the government, but government in a more comprehensive way, including civil servants, including symbolically even the population. In this lecture, we deal with two core ideas. One is that states are built on violence, without which certain collective actions are impossible, if not difficult to achieve. If you have a very angelic imagination or understanding of the state, this lecture may cause you a bit of distress. But it's important for people to know actually what happened. Exactly because of the violent nature, the states need to be tamed. Those who govern must have the consent of the governed. Why do we need states or the government? Because we are not polar bears. By which I mean that we do not live in solitude except for mating and parenting. If you do live like polar bears, you don't live in a society, you don't need government. But even if you are like ants, you live in a society, you still would need a government in the way humans understand it. Why? Because for somehow, ants would choose among all the female ants, the majority of them, and pick one to be the queen. And the rest of the female ants would just be worker ants. They have no chance to reproduce, no chance to enjoy life, but everyone would just accept that arrangement by nature. No one would try to stage a coup, start a revolution, start an insurgency, and so on. And that makes a strong contrast in human being, because we are sociable, we are social animal, but at the same time, we also have private preferences and ambitions. We compete for all kinds of resources, including love. So to get people to work together, we can think for humans, there are 3 arenas that we can get our acts together. They work on different drivers. So on the far left, what you see is a scene of the hippie commune in the 60s. I use that to represent society where people do things out of love for others, or reason that you think this is the right thing to do, then you do it. What is society? Society represents free will. You are collaborative, not because that you're out there to look for some benefits. You're just altruistic in some sense. So, but then most of us are not altruistic all the time. Often we would do something because there's something for us. So we look for benefit or profit. That's the market. Now, but even market cannot resolve all problems, because humans have a tendency or inclination to feel right. If someone can do the job and we can take the opportunities to enjoy it for free, many of us would do. So for this reason, to overcome free ridings and other problems, we have the state. State is basically an entity backed up by violence, by cohesion. So for society, it's love or reason. For market, is profit or benefit. And for the state, is cohesion. Ultimately, it's backed by violence. You might have heard this song if you have lived long enough or you have a good taste. This is by John Lennon, Beatles, Imagine. He said, imagine there's no heaven, there's been no religion, there's no possessions, no property right, no capitalism, no countries, no nations, no governments and states. So that's supposed to be a more ideal way of how we live our life than the current society. But if it is true, why do we want to live in states and not anarchy? Because there are three likely consequences of anarchy. First, violence. Second, undersupply of private goods. Third, exhaustions of common resources. I'll start with violence. This gentleman is called Thomas Hobbes. He imagined at the beginning of time, all human beings live without government. So it's anarchy. He called that the state of nature. And they say life in the state of nature is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. Why? Because he imagined the state of nature would be just like a cowboy movie. Wild Wild West. Everyone would act on their whims. And the strong would bully the weak, but even the strong may kill each other. So there's no security. It will be a case of war of all against all. Thomas Hobbes developed this idea because he lived in England in the 17th century when the land was when the land suffered a bloody civil war. Now, the next two reasons why we have the war has to do with the types of good on market failure. Economists divide all goods, what we pursue, into four categories divided by two criteria. The first criteria is rivalry in consumption. If I consume something, does it prevent others from consuming it? So that's rivalry. Second is exclusion. Can we force people to not, can we exclude people from consuming the same thing? If the answer is to two questions, the answer to two questions are both yes, then you have private goods. Imagine that, let's say I'm having an ice cream. You cannot have the same ice cream that I'm having. So that's private good, and market can resolve this. But let's say I have a movie to show. That movie can be watched by more than one person, not the second person watching it doesn't affecting the first person. So it's non-rival. But it is excludable because if you're going to show the movie in this hall, then, and I can keep you out from the hall, you cannot enjoy it. Why this is important? Because then I can charge an entrance fees. With that money, I can cover the production costs. But if I cannot exclude people, then I would not be able to charge. The market fail. Now move to the top right corner. You could also have something that's rival in nature, but non-excludable. For example, if you go to the sea to catch fish, the fishes I catch would not be able to be caught by you at the same time. So, and the more I catch, the more would be left for you. But overall, I wouldn't be able to exclude you because we are sharing the common resources. So this is common resources. And we're going to look a little bit more in the next slide and on the tragedy of the commons. The last one is private goods. It is non-rival and non-excludable. For example, you live in a gated community with private securities. If you have enhanced security, everyone in the neighborhood would enjoy it, regardless they pay or do not pay. So that creates strong incentive for free riding. People would deny that they have enjoyed it. They would claim that there's no need for this and therefore refuse to pay. that causes undersupplies of private goods. And therefore, we need the state basically to collect the money, to extract money, and to pay for supply of private goods so that we have the optimum supply. And for common resources, that's the tragedy of the common. If you have a piece of land, a glass land, and at the beginning, it would be very easy because it can support all the animals. But if everyone's come to a point that you simply won't be able to do it, and eventually you overexploited it, and the grassland may be degraded eventually into even desert. Okay. Fish. Now let's look at nature and origin of the state. We have learned from Thomas Hope his theorization how state come about. But let's look at the definition. What is the state? The state is a human community that successfully claims the monopoly of the legitimate use of physical force within a given territory. So it has 4 elements. What are the 4 elements? Anyone to try? What's the most important thing from here? What's your name? We have Anim, right? Anim, what are the 4 elements? The community is not so important. Yeah.
Given territories or borders.
Oh, right. Good. Okay. Okay.
Use meaning morals.
Okay.
Having a specific set of rules when to use force. So 4. So the last step. That's 4, right?
What's the 4?
The last one.
Yeah.
Last one would be the monopoly that's claimed.
Okay. So Hanim has answered the 4. I want to go back to the online class here. Can anyone explain to me what does these things means? The 4 elements, what does it mean? The most important one, let me try. Let's start with the core. Physical force, what does it mean when we talk about physical core? People in the group? Hata, let's try.
I would say the military, sir.
Yes, you got it, but it's violence. Basically anything that comes in as a form of violence. Very well. Let's try another one. Avicenna, what do you mean by legitimate use? Hanim just now, Anim said just now is moral. Not exactly. What does it mean by legitimate use?
I think it's the people consent to it. People consent to being governed by this.
Very good.
State.
Legitimate means it's something acceptable. People do not see there's a primary reason for you to object to it. Okay. So, in normal term, when we say this is something legitimate, you can do it, we use a word starting with L. What would that word be? I say when we
Is
say
it law, sir?
huh?
Is it
what?
law? I mean,
Well,
law,
it's so general, but something's much more straightforward when we say
legal.
you can do this. It's a simple word L. You have that even in a James Bond movie. James Bond movie.
Spawn movie.
License.
It's license.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
So what I want you to see is like when we talk about this, it's actually talking about the license to use violence in a given territory. And when you say monopoly means that, what does it mean? Let's try Mary. When we say there's a monopoly, what does it mean related to the license?
Does it mean that it's exclusive?
Yes, there's only one license. Well done. Right. So I go back to the slide. So what Max Weber, this is a German political scientist, has done is actually define for us what governments do. They basically are the sole holder of a license to use violence. Because of this violent nature, we have to be careful with the state. And this is not careful to any government, but overall to all states. Thomas Paine has a very famous idea, a concept in his book called Common Sense. Now, a bit background of him, this guy is an Englishman, but he lived in America. His book, Common Sense, was a very powerful pamphlet that motivated many American colonists to fight against the British Empire and gain independence. So he talked about society and government. He said society in every state, in this case, in every condition, is a blessing because it's based on free will. But government, even in its best state, in the best condition, is but a necessary evil. In its worst state, an intolerable one. Can anyone help me on why do we say this? What do we understand by necessary evil and intolerable evil? Brendan.
Honestly, I would say fight evil with evil.
No, that's not what he means. Yeah, unless you want to explain a bit more.
I guess it ties back to a couple of slides ago. What differs between a government and a gang? If you look at it systematically, gang within itself has internal laws. They have a hierarchy as like how the government does. There's three branches of executive, executive governance. But but the way we would sort of bias towards a government, thinking that a gang is just a bad idea for society. It's just, I honestly I don't know what I'm saying, but just
the flow, but that's fine. Thank you. Don't worry. What you are saying is about to answer the last question. But anyone want to try to explain what do you mean by necessary evil? Because this sounds contradictory. We normally think of evil as something bad. Why does, in this case, Thomas Paine say that government at its best state, in its best state, is but a necessary evil? Anim?
So if you go back to the last quote of the social contract by Thomas Hobbes. So if it's anarchist state of nature, then everything will be filled with chaos and a lot of bloodshed. For a government to govern, so let's say to control the population, even if they do Machiavellian ways of control, such as divide and conquer, which might seem unfair to the population, it is still a necessary evil for the state.
So which part is necessary, which part is evil?
The necessary is to look at like opportunity costs and options and deciding what's the best for the long-term future. And if that means to sacrifice or to make like a minority suffer, then the state would have the legitimate pretense to carry forward.
The evil part is about cohesion. The necessary is because to avoid a worse outcome.
Which is anarchy.
Right. Okay, got it. Well done. Okay, so I hope everyone get that. You can think of it a bit like, say, Panadol. You take Panadol because you have headache. You don't take Panadol because it's tasty, it's good for you, right? So that's a necessary evil. But if you get to become addicted to Panadol, you cannot start your day without taking 2 pills of Panadol, then there's something wrong because you have acquired addiction, right? So Thomas Paine is someone who is cautious about expanding the government power too far, because deep down in the logic of government, unlike in society, is cohesion. Now we move on to It's interesting questions. What do governments do? Charles Tilly, this smiling, friendly guy, was an American political scientist. He wrote this piece, a short chapter. I really encourage you to read it. It's called War Making and State Making as Organized Crime. So he compared governments to mafia. Now, but let's go back to what does the government do? He broke it down into 4 activities, thinking of a government as an actor. And remember just now we say what Max Weber said, that government is the only holder of the license to use violence. So government would have competitors and government would have its clients in using the violence. So the first activity is war making. If a government is fighting off challenges from outside the territories, another government, several governments, then this is war making. If the government is eliminating or neutralizing competitors within the territories, for example, bandits, rebels, or even a religious cult considered to be threatening the state, this would be state making. So the state impose law and order. And thirdly, the state do not just eliminate their rivals for nothing. They do it to serve their enemies, their clients, by eliminating and neutralizing the enemies of their client. So they do protections. And this is done by eliminating outlaws, by administering justice to courts and so on. Now, where does money come from? Who to pay for this? So the governments do the last thing, that is extraction. It takes money from people, so to fund the other 3 activities. Is this clear for everyone? I would like then to ask you this question. Just a moment. I'd like to ask you this question. Could you tell me the same thing that what the gangsters do comparable to the government's behavior? Aisha? Can you imagine, can you find the functional equivalence of war making for a mafia gang?
Well, I think the government and mafia sometimes quite the same. They use brute force, but on the mafia, they just do it for themselves, while the government, as on the previous slide, they have license to do that.
Yes, that's true. But let's go one by one. If war making, governments do that because they fight each other, right? We have international war. Do mafias, gangs do similar things?
Yes.
They fight other mafia, right?
Usually, the mafia or the gangs, they have some kind of territories, right?
Yeah.
And one territory is like in area A, and then in area B, sometimes they fight over that territories, and so they fight each other for that.
Thank you very much. Kahan, do you find anything functional equivalent in state making for mafia gang?
In the state making, I think it's rival over power.
So if we go back to the government, state making means the government impose a law and order. They take away challenges from within the territory, so non-other government, non-state actor. So, so in mafia, just now we have talked about conflicts between mafia. Do you have functional equivalent situations where mafia administer justice in their own way, neutralize their internal rivals, and so on?
For me, it's the same. If you are managing an organization, you want to hold that power of making the decisions. So you will want to have certain preference that you want to hold it, or you want to eliminate certain elements that you do not want to possibly give a risk or even influence your power in that organization. So state making to me in government or whether in mafia, it's about the same. It's holding their power. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Kahan. Alim?
For administrative purposes, I would say the mafia has like a hierarchical structure, which is very similar to like ministers and mayors and whatnot. Judicial systems is also very similar because the mafia is based on like a set of rules. So for us, it would be like laws. If we were to commit a crime, then we would have to pay for it like through. So bribery is also very similar, and the mafia bribery is big, and in government corruption, bribery is also big.
But basically, let's keep to the state making part. So within the territory they control, a mafia gang would not allow challenges. So they will deal with this. If they have traitors within them, they may set up a trial and so on. So that basically how they impose law and order. Now, Wunsim,
Yes.
what's the functional equivalent to protection?
I think because it's a gang, so they do protect their own people, the gang members.
You see, in government, when you talk about protection, is to protect their clients, meaning the people. What about gangster? Do they protect people?
It depends. They probably will protect. I'm not really protecting, but okay, let's say they have a territory, they want to control the territory. They want people to follow or listen to them. So somehow, if I want to feel safe, then I'll give you some protections. Then in return, you have to pay me.
All right, good. That's protection. And you're almost talking about the last part already, extraction. What do we call when government does it? Let me try. Jingru. When government extract resources from people, what do you call it? Jingru, are you there? Would you want to turn on your video? Okay, Jingru is not here. Kitchun.
Yeah, Prof. For me, for government, is to extract.
When government extract money, what do we call that?
Will be taxes.
Okay. When mafia extract money, what do we call that?
It's like protection money or bribes.
Good. Now we have looked at all the 4 activities. You can find very similar things, right? So tell me what's the difference between a government and a mafia?
Government is legitimate.
Yeah, but why is it legitimate?
By the law.
But why, in the first place, they're protected by the law?
Sovereign state.
Yeah, but it still doesn't go back to answer that question. Yeah, sovereign states recognize each other. Yeah. But
is it because we elect these people to the government, Prof?
yeah, in some
Yes.
sense, what Anin mentioned just now is like you get established, you get recognized by other governments internationally. That's make you legitimate. But is it all? So I'm pushing you guys to think a bit further. Like, because of course, states wear uniform. Gangsters do not always wear uniform. They may have their t-shirts, right? But not as shining as the government. But we wouldn't say, oh, exactly because you don't look formal enough, therefore you are mafia. So I want you to push to think hard that government and mafias are doing similar things. What's the difference between them? Yeah.
So the mafia is is like doing bad things, like illegal stuff to just gain money. But for the government is to govern, is to control, is to make sure there's peace.
Okay, hold that. I didn't say that mafia would do bad things, government would always do good things. Can anyone find me the opposite? Is the opposite example meaning that can you find opposite circumstances where mafia do good things, government do bad things? Hold on. This is a track 2 class. You cannot monopolize the whole discussion.
Prof,
Yes.
I think when it comes to protection, the mafia is more reliable. and in the territories that they control, crime is usually a minimum.
Well, because they make sure there's no competitor, right?
Yes.
Right. Now, actually, in historically speaking, sometimes you cannot differentiate whether it's government or mafia. For example, Yap Aloy. Yap Aloy was a leader of the gang, and later he was appointed as the Capitan of Kuala Lumpur. He became the state. He still ran his businesses. He still ran businesses in opium and gambling, in prostitutions, and so on. Right? How do you draw the line? So this is a case that where, as a mafia leader, he was very effective in providing for the welfare of his followers and the people in developing the township. But in other countries, you could find that in some country, you could find the government to be predatory. The government basically just extract resources from the people. They do not develop the state. And you have many of these in new countries that gain independence after the Second World War. So how do we actually tell the difference? Or how should state be different from mafia? Kata, you want to try?
Sorry, sir. I missed the question a bit.
I say, we have talked about all this, right? So state and mafia, you cannot differentiate by what they do because you do have exception.
Yes.
So what are the one thing that I would argue at least democratic states would do and a mafia would never do?
Hold elections, sir?
Yes. Election. I was about to say that too.
Okay, and good. That's the answer. You want to elaborate, and then Avicenna?
Well, governments, you take elections based on who will take the government. For governments, they have to take elections from the people as to who will take the post. Whereas gangs, whoever is in the vacuum, whoever takes the spot first, and it can hold that power.
Yes, you can think of it this way, that in this applies to democracy, not necessarily all states. But for democratic states, the power comes from election because this is actually the consent of the governed. People who are ruled, they have to give their consent to the rulers.
Prof, I have a question for.
Yeah.
I have heard before that a government's biggest power is its ability to declare war.
Well, there are many things that you can think about. I'm not sure. I can't say it's wrong, but I'm not sure whether this is something measurable for you to say this is the biggest power. But it's certainly one thing. Government can declare war, but anyone can declare war nowadays. Insurgent group can declare war effectively. But government, of course, have different status in international law, but that's not what we're looking into. I want to bring back to the questions that both Hatta and Avicenna talk about elections. Why is it impossible for a gangster to actually have elections? Now, some gang may actually allow elections among their member. This is actually possible. There was one republic, Aisha, you are from Balikpapan. Do you know that in Pontianak, there used to be a republic founded by Chinese gang? I don't know how it was spelled, but it's Lanfang Republic. And they have some sort of elections internally. But even if you look at, say, a mafia has gone through democratization, they would not extend that voting right to their client. That's a key thing, right? So, for example, let's say you as a businesses, you have been paying protection due for 10 years. You never get one day an invitation and say, our Maha Quat gang is going to have our elections of our gang leader. Please come. Since you have paid so much tax, now we would like you to take part in our elections. You never get a chance. See the difference? Because elections actually means that for those who are governed, not just about between the elites. If a mafia can go that far, the mafia is transforming itself into a state, a democratic entity.
A little question, sir.
Yeah.
But in a totalitarian country or absolute practicing perhaps absolute monarchy, there's no election either.
Yeah. So let's go back to your questions. That how different are they from gangster? You get my point? I'm not saying that a gangster do not do good work, as we have shown. For example, in America, gangs were the one who supported the Italians and the Irish immigrants who were otherwise marginalized by the mainstream society. Gangs do have work. But the question here, what I'm trying to bring it back, to tie back to the whole question here, is because state is based on violence. That violent nature require it to be tamed, to be moderated, to be controlled by people who give them the power. And this is not something mafia can do. Not all the state would do. So this is what I want to push that to you, for you to see the importance of the consent of the governed. You get that? Hatta?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone? This is the first part, our lecture one. Anyone, anything you want to questions? You don't have to agree with me. I'm basically, the job of a teacher is to train the student to think rigorously, for you to formulate your idea, to defend it, and so on. So you can disagree with me. You can say, I think that Mr. Charles Tilly, Professor Charles Tilly, is just basically produced nonsense. Then you write rigorously to refute that and say why this is nonsense, right? So any questions from here? Anything that you don't understand or you disagree?
Prof.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe I would just like to add, like, say, for example, if it's a government, is especially if a democratic government, you are the one is electing the leaders, and that leaders owe something for those who elected them, and that those in the people who voted them have the right to demand for that service from the elected officials, and they have also the right to oust them in that position and remove their power. And it is also guided by by laws, our constitution. While on the other hand, if it's a mafia, they don't have the constitution, they don't have the basis. They just act on whatever is the client is asking them to do.
Yes. Most of all, even if let's say they have gone through they've gone through ISO training 14,000 and say we decided to formalize everything, we have an SOP, they still wouldn't, they still cannot become a democratic state unless, as long as they do not give the clients the right to vote. As what you point out just now, in government, in democratic countries, you support the politicians, you can demand them to serve you, and you can remove them. But a mafia, you wouldn't have a chance to decide who is in power. That's fundamentally different.
Yes. However, it also goes back to like a state making, like those, say, for example, in the state of mafia, they have, if you are the leader, you just have to silence those under you.
Yes.
Unless that people under you will make like a call and then they can eliminate you. But it's going to be like a bloody conflict, something like that.
Reality, one big challenge is that in few states, mafia may actually take over the shell of the government. They will just act as if like now they become the legitimate government. This happens in many countries. All right, we stop here and we come back in 5 minutes time. That's 4:43, and then we continue with lecture 2.